get started. Let's start the show because I'm excited just to be back in the home studio. Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you, Therese, again for that super chat. I saw that as I was setting up, and that's so lovely. What a great, your ongoing support is lovely, and I greatly appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who shows up and supports both financially in any way they can, and also with their eyeballs and their sharingness. Thanks so much for that. All right, so there's a lot to cover right now, but there are, there's some phrases, some little words that have been bandied about over the last couple of years. Phrases like cancel culture. You know what I mean? They've been thrown, which one side was soundly against until they started doing it. In which case they're like, well, there's in some cases you just fucking gotta, right? So there are a lot of similar phrases like that. It's just there's this weird kind of Trumpization of language. And by the way, hi chat room. Let's see if my buttons all work. They do. Hi, there you are. A lot of like BS nifty little phrases that they use. Howdy. And it's not surprising when they get inverted hypocritically and used by the very side that came up with them in the first place. Today we're seeing sort of I don't know if it's two snakes facing each other, but they're one, or if it's the snake eating its own tail, or if it's a human centipede. I don't know. All I know is that, well, I'll show you. Here's this Jimmy Dore has a. This is, no, I'm not using the new computer yet, Dragon X Flyer. This is and I still have the cat cam screen on. It's a little green blob on the side there because I pushed that button by mistake. It's okay. Hi. This is Jimmy Dore's channel. And he's calling Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro snowflakes. Yeah. Now, snowflakes is, started out as a right-wing word. And the idea was twofold. One, that people on the left think they are precious and unique. They're one of a kind. There are no two snowflakes alike. And they're delicate and melt at the first sign of any kind of, just by breathing on them, they melt. Right? That's the twofold insult of the phrase, of the word snowflake. And in the case of most right-wingers that we deal with on the show, that a good portion of them snowflake the fuck out all the time. They just, when they do it, it's, when Glenn Beck has a meltdown, when he snowflakes, then we're supposed to, it's just, well, because he's really mad. He's really upset about something. Everybody else, if they get upset about something, they're either overwhelmed with anger and can't control their emotions, or they're a snowflake, right? That's okay. So, this is, and I'm curious about the nature of this, and we may not even watch the whole video because why the fuck torture yourself? But this is, again, the journey, the obvious sign that Jimmy Dore is a full-on right-winger is and I mean that in the authoritarian sense, and the authoritarian sense where like the Nazis called themselves National Socialist, but I'd hardly call them left-wing. But they use socialist in their name. So doesn't that automatically mean they're left-leaning? No, it doesn't. There are apparently values deeper than just using the fucking label. And we see a similar thing. Am I calling Jimmy Dore a Nazi? No, because literally no one would look at him and go, specimen. So, they also use nationalist, and we're only for blood Germans, not people who lived in the nation of Germany, who identified as Germans and believed in the right. Like, even if you believed in the Third Reich and you were, Jewish or fucking Irish or Scottish or Indian, it didn't matter. They wouldn't consider you the same. So even the nationalist thing is. So, yeah, blood and soil, all that stuff. The little hints that Trump goes in. This one's titled Free Speech Warriors. I'm going to rise this up so you can see the label. free speech warriors turn into snowflakes over Palestine. Okay, first of all, there are Palestinian territories for people who identify as Palestinians, but there is no Palestine. Palestine, the name of Palestine was an area that included parts of Lebanon and Egypt and all of the area of current Israel, and it's a name that the Romans gave the area. Just for the record, we'll get into that, but again, there is no Palestine. The idea that there's going to be a two-state solution, there will be a Palestine someday, is, I think there's value in working towards that. But it doesn't exist now, and it never has existed, not in the terms of these people are Palestinians and everybody ain't, right? Because at that point, all the Jews, all the Christians, everybody in that area were Palestinians, because it was like Americans aren't one religion. It's an area, right? Okay. So, but this isn't about that. This isn't about history. This is about, oddly, Jimmy Dore apparently feeling slightly betrayed by Ben Shapiro and Laura Loomer, two people who, for the record, I fucking can't stand. But I guess he's all broken up about it.
Kim Iverson did a great segment on this, and I wanted to check. So there's all the people.
Oh, now, okay, so we're back to, right out of the gate, we're back to Jimmy playing other people's content and then just going, and that's his show. Look, it's one thing to put something up there, break it down, conflict with it, even putting up something like a statement by the president and watching it happen and having a statement afterwards, or watching the whole thing unexpurgated if you feel that way. But Jimmy literally just fucking, it's the Hamas, it's the Hassan Abi, quite frankly, methodology. Because that's what Hassan does too. He just takes other people's content that he agrees with, throws it up on screen and fucking games and eats food while it's playing, and acts like that's a show. Like he has the fucking right to it. The ironic part about it, about Hassan's show in that regard, is as millionaire Marxists go, which, Jimmy would, I'm sure, Jimmy qualifies. Both of these assholes, him and Hassan, both take other people's content that other people have made and don't form a commune with these people of creatives where we all share stuff back and forth. Nah, just fucking snatch it right out of their hand. Yeah. So here we go.
People who are free speech advocates, Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
The right-wing free speech warriors like Ben Shapiro.
Oh my God! That includes speech you don't like.
You got it.
Facts
That's
don't
right.
care about your feelings. I believe the great Ben Shapiro.
The great Ben
said.
Shapiro said, "Facts don't care about your feelings."
Yeah.
And free speech, free speech.
And free speech, free speech.
And
sure.
So
Hassan does some commentary, but he borrows shit all the time. That's what I'm saying. And he says he has the right to do it. He was talking about it on the Ethan podcast that they do together, that he has that qualifies, and it does not.
She put and so she did a great segment on this. I'm using her. She found these tweets. I found one more, but here's Ben Shapiro. If you work in the media and uncritically and reflexively parrot the genocidal Jew-hating terrorist liars Hamas, you should be fired. So that's Ben Shapiro apparently saying you shouldn't have free speech.
No, he's saying that anybody who reflexively parrots Hamas, which he characterizes as genocidal and Jew-hating, which if you read their actual charter, the death of all the Jews and the elimination of the state of Israel is like the second line. There's a case to be made. If you, and he says it, uncritically and reflexively parrot it, you should be fired. Now, I would argue that if you, as a journalist, if you uncritically and reflexively parrot anyone, you're not a journalist. That's not being fired for free speech. That's being fired for being a mouthpiece for an organization without processing it all. Now, Does he have a side in that? Yeah, he's Jewish, and he might be a little more sensitive than Jimmy. I don't give a fuck about either side except for what's politically expedient to what I can sell to the people that are watching my show. He doesn't have a fucking dog in either of these fights except how it benefits him. But Ben Shapiro's Jewish, so he's gonna, in the context of his, relatives and ancestors that passed away in fucking pogroms and fucking the Holocaust and all that stuff, he's going to have a different take on it. But the key words in this, and this is the problem with, free speech should also involve, I think, free fucking reading. That you should freely read what's actually in front of you instead of what you're said to write. Now, this is not me defending Ben Shapiro. This is me reading fucking sentences and knowing what they mean.
And if you do use it, you should lose your job. You should be canceled.
Nope. No, that's not what that says at all. What that says is if you reflexively and uncritically parrot, rubber stamp, act as a spokesperson for Hamas, then you should be fired. Now, if he swapped if he swapped those around, and instead of saying it said Hamas, it said Arab hating Israeli government, you should be fired. Jimmy would agree with it uncritically himself. He would go, yeah, but that's the whole mainstream media is based on that idea, right? That's what he would absolutely support that idea in that context. And secondarily, propaganda is not free speech. It is manipulative speech on behalf of a group or a government.
Well, facts do care about his feelings, it turns
Facts
out.
do care about his feelings.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because he's a Jew, is the point that Kurt is making.
Obviously, facts care about the feelings.
Isn't it funny to
the
watch?
nation of Israel.
It's like everybody has their own
special
their
thing.
own special thing that
Yeah.
shows them to be just exactly like the people they claim to hate.
Okay.
Well, as a great example, Jimmy and Kurt are showing a clip, showing a quote on screen, and mischaracterizing it in a way that they say the mainstream media does all the time. They are propagandizing for their side using, and here's the thing, you can make the case without misquoting the quote. You can say Ben Shapiro has a slanted view of it because he's Jewish, and in some ways he might be uncritically taking what the Israeli government says. And of course he's going to say people should be fired. And there's an argument to be made that anybody that posts something uncritically, that rubber stamps anything from any organization or any government entity, and doesn't say this is what they said, or repeats it as if it's the truth without checking, shouldn't be a journalist. That's a reasonable fucking conversation to have. That's not what's going to happen here. We're just going to watch Jimmy and Kurt make the case that Ben Shapiro is a hypocrite and full of shit while being hypocritical and being full of shit. It's amazing. It's impressive.
Shapiro claims they hate those liberal snowflakes who can't take freedom of speech and hearing ideas that they don't like until it's an idea he doesn't like, and then he wants you fired from your job.
Well, that's different. It's hate speech. When
by the way, Kurt's more like avowedly right wing, and is more faux-aggressive, admittedly faux-aggressive than Jimmy. Jimmy is still laboring under the idea that his sheep's clothing is still convincing people. 57.8 K in subscribers. We're getting near 60. Subscribe. It's a good time.
This is amazing to me.
I'll tell you.
That's because you're stupid and you read what you wanted to read, not what's actually written in front of you. We all saw you guys in chat room. I'd like to hear from you and anybody who looks at this video later on and comment below. Huh? See how that works? It's like, did he not? Are they not mischaracterizing specifically what Ben Shapiro is saying in this to try and paint him as a hypocrite because he's not on their side in this one, in this argument? That's the only other reason. Half the time, Jimmy and Kurt, you know, they'll split a Ben Shapiro ball each. I mean,
What's amazing is
I was going to go further with that, but no one needs more of that analogy.
back when it started up with the, you should get fired for saying whatever it is. I don't
Yeah, whatever it is.
like retroactive.
Yeah, like the N-word at work or sexually harassing women at work. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, are we free or not in this fucking country? Right, Tits McGee? Like,
And I went, boy, you guys sure are acting like crazy far right wingers. I remember from, like back when Harry Potter was being burned by crazy Baptist kind of people out here.
Yeah, that's not. That shit's been going on. I mean, I grew up as a Kiss fan. They burned my albums in the 70s. That's not that. Everybody pretending that like the era of free speech right wingers or the anti-cancel culture shit didn't have to do with fucking Milo Yiannopoulos being on campuses talking shit, like gay conversion therapy while he has a black boyfriend, and being racist on campus and people not wanting him there. That was like the pinnacle of this, and even Shapiro not, kind of being driven off of college campuses. That's the spike of it, not fucking Baptists burning fucking Harry Potter.
All these churches were like, it's witchcraft. They're burning Harry Potter. And then,
hardcore Christians invented burning books about wizards with the Harry Potter books. For fuck's sake.
All of a sudden, 7 years later, I'm watching trans-active left-wing activists burn Harry Potter for the same. And I was like, boy, we have come full circle.
Wow.
No. Wow. It's so, if you think about it. Okay, first of all, the left-wing trans activists were not burning it because of the content of the books. They were burning it as a I'm not going to have these books in my house by this author because of what she says elsewhere. Not what's in the fucking books. There's a huge difference between Baptists burning the contents of a Harry Potter book because they believe it promotes witchcraft, and a trans activist getting mad at J.K. Rowling and burning the fucking book, right or wrong, because of what she's saying about what they believe she's saying about them. It's two totally different fucking things. It's not even that. There's a huge difference between burning the books because you no longer want to own them and fuck that person, and burning the books because you don't want anybody to be able to read them. And neither of these assholes can tell the difference in that situation. For the record, I'm against burning books. Let's just start there. But pretending that those are two of the same thing or two of the same reasoning, and that it's fucking, that there's some like, oh my God, it's like full fucking circle. And look at Jimmy, just like his forehead's been struck by, a lightning turd.
Oh.
Anyway, I would constantly point out in the beginning, especially with the comedy, the comedy wars of the Tosh.0 years or whatever, you guys sound like
Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's a veteran of the comedy wars of the Tosh.0 years. Now, for those of you that don't know, that's the period that Kurt and Jimmy had to live through, where they would say shitty, angry, unfunny things on stage and be convinced that you can't even joke about stuff anymore because people are so sensitive, without having an ounce of self-reflection to recognize you're not being funny, fuckhead. I talk about, in my stand-up, you guys have seen me, I talk about all these topics. I'm fucking hilarious. And it's not because I'm always on one side of the spectrum of it safely. I speak openly about these things. I just do it from the point of view of being humorous with the intention of bringing everyone in on the laugh and not going, fuck you, fuck you. Yeah, just edgelording my way through it and pretending it's comedy. That's Kurt's problem. That's Jimmy's fucking act these days is grotesque. The only things that show up that are even formatted like jokes are shitty steals from other people.
right-wingers like, no, we don't. Then I noticed a thing of, hey, I thought you guys said you like free speech. Like, No, I wasn't a right winger. I said you're being like a right winger. They try to turn it around on you. I guess you guys don't like it. The whole time I've been saying they all hate free speech. Nobody has been switching back and forth except these assholes.
Yes, Kurt has been the one constant in an ever-changing universe. He's been consistent through this whole thing. Angry and unfunny. And, just like a signpost in the hurricane of free speech.
Here's friend of the show, Dave Rubin. So France banned pro-Palestinian protests. That seems to me very anti-free speech.
Are you telling me Dave Rubin is somewhat insincere in his? You mean to tell me that Dave Rubin stand up?
By the way, for the record, Dave Rubin's a dick, but so is Jimmy. They're both TYT castoffs. You know how Donald Trump's always shitting on Ron DeSantis and everybody that was in his cabinet and anybody that he hired for a job, all of his selections for everything. He's like, they suck, they're terrible, disloyal, no charisma. Like, motherfucker, you picked them. TYT has fucking laced the world with these dickheads. Like, I mean, not everybody that leaves there is an asshole. Ben's lovely. There's a bunch of decent people out there. But the guys that make it off of TYT, that branch out, are fucking horrible.
Respected stand-up comedian from New York that I never heard of until maybe a couple years ago. Dave Rubin. Bringer show comedian Dave Rubin.
There's no need to denigrate his comedy.
I resent that he's like, oh, he's a stand-up comedy. New York. No, he ain't. Did he do
Rubin,
the Dan Ninen circuit?
Dave Rubin makes me laugh.
Well, this is pretty funny.
He is.
What does he do? Just say because he's gay and he can talk about how talking about social issues that apply to gay people are just a distraction, and Jimmy can go ha and go ha ha ha. You mean like that kind of laughter?
Especially in person, he's very funny. But here he is seemingly going against. We should bring Dave on.
Maybe the West has a chance, Dave. Now that's okay. If he's not stupid and he is funny, then he knows that that's the most insincere, clearly to curry face, as if he's running for office.
Well, it seems contradictory. So we should.
It does seem contradictory. However, we'll get to that in a minute. First of all, it's France. It's not the United States. But we'll get there. They have different rules about different stuff. They also, you see, France was taken over by the Nazis. And the Nazis were also chanting things about kill the Jews. And at all these Palestinian protests, they were having a hard time with people who were just protesting on behalf of the Palestinians. And that's about 20% of this crowd. And the other 80% is yelling, gas the Jews. And France had a real problem with people from a neighboring country coming in and saying shit like that just a few decades ago.
We should bring Dave on.
It's like he's running. Everybody's running for office in their regular life. Oh, I have a show. I'm going to have to pander to a certain group as if I need them to fund me to run for president, like I'm RFK. That's.
You don't think there's like Palestinian style support money out there?
That's what he's doing right there.
So Dave Rubin's trying to be RFK.
Or he's dumb, because that's crazy what he said.
So banning protests, he seems to be endorsing. That seems to be contradictory.
Yeah, it would seem to be, except again, that the protests themselves involve so much hate speech that they're not really simply, in quotes, pro-Palestinian. This guy's calling them pro-Palestinian, but they're not. They're anti-Israel protests waving the Palestinian flag. There's a difference. I think arguing, if you had a bunch of people out there saying free Palestine, peace for Palestine, allow Palestinian refugees into France, that kind of stuff, they wouldn't have this problem. But the problem is the groups that are gathering are walking down the street saying gas the Jews. Yeah? That's why. Let's be real clear. The other reason is, and this is why, there's a reason why Dave Rubin is saying maybe the West has a chance. The reason he's making this distinction is because under Palestinian rule, let's say, you want Palestine to exist, or you want the Palestinians to have their own state. In that Palestinian state, all the Western values take for granted: women's rights, gay rights, rule of law, not being beheaded, those kind of things. Those go out the window. The Hamas and even the PLO when it was the primary force, Islamic Jihad within Palestine, the Palestinians largely 56 to 70%, depending on which poll you look at, believe in the extreme side of Muslim family values. Women secondary citizens, can't own property, all that kind of stuff. Hardcore Islamic, or Islamist ideology, right? Which is antithetical to the Muslims that live in Western countries and interact with everyone else. The Muslims that would live for centuries in what we now have as Israel and would have been the Palestinian area, the Arabs, the Jews, the Christians that were in there, like interacting, living together, not warring during that period. Thanks, oil. They would be against those people. The Western idea of you can believe whatever you want, but it stops at the end of your nose. Palestinians en masse, and again, this is not a reason to kill the civilians in there. This is not a reason to obliterate the area. But it is, you can have an awareness about the values of that particular group en masse. That's where he's coming from. Do I agree with it? And you're looking at two fucking tweets next to each other with a twit describing it. We're not even talking about the depth of the issue in the way that we're discussing it here and in my chat. We're talking about, this conversation is not even about the stuff I just informed this with. This is what that guy said in relation to this oversimplified tweet and Jimmy reacting to it so that he can, again, take a very complex issue and oversimplify it for clicks.
So
Do you know
Dave
why
has offered to come on the show and talk about this, so I think we will bring him on.
Okay, you know why France has all these Palestinians, by the way, and Arabs? Because as Dan Cohen told us, the way it works in Gaza is it's not that you can't leave Gaza. You just got to get the hell out of the area. So that's where all these Arab immigrants have poured into the EU, many of them. They're from that area and didn't want to die or live in the prison camp that is Gaza.
And they also can't go to any of the other surrounding Muslim countries.
And Israel supposedly will pay you to leave for good.
But they can go into the European countries, which support the existence of Israel. Largely the populace in France and elsewhere supports a two-state solution, just like I do, just like most of the United States does. So the idea that you would come there and go, oh, I'm able to go to this country and be there. This is about his defense of this. This is just how, like, what a cheap, like, dumbing down of this idea that he's doing. Right? This is how fucking stupid Kurt's take is. Again, because when we're talking about the depths of these issues, understand that we're not actually talking about the issues themselves when we have to deal with clips like this, because there's a lot of moving parts and they're worth talking about. But you can't move from one talking point to another in a highly complex system except as a diversionary tactic or to not make any progress at all. That's what this is. That's what this shit is. It's not a tweet anymore. It's a flex, right?
Because they want that
Really?
land. Oh, yeah. So guess what? Hey,
like, notice how Jimmy just takes Kurt's word for it. Really? That's so all the Arabs that fled during the Jasmine Revolution, the Iranians and other people who are in France, they're all just magically fucking Palestinians, according to Kurt. And therefore, now this is like watching Trump right before he goes on stage and some dipshit local politician with some hard on for some right-wing issue about guns or immigrants or whatever spouts some bullshit factoid, and then he just he's like, oh, you know what I just learned that a lot of you probably don't know, but I know it before you do, so that automatically makes me smarter than you. That's exactly what this shit is.
why are all these people swarming into France? Well, because Israel doesn't want them in Israel.
Oh, okay. That's
So-
what Dan Cohen
No,
said?
not okay. The fuck? What?
Yeah, well, what he said is they'll pay him to
leave?
emigrate the hell out. But America don't take them. EU takes them though. Like
We have Palestinians here. What the fuck are you talking about? And the reason they go to the EU is because it's just it's closer.
France. That's why they had so many. All the
How many? So many.
Contents of places we bombed or let them get kicked out of their home. They've been immigrating into Europe, and they got the same kind of feelings Miami Cubans got.
I just can't believe these people.
No, they don't. The fucking Arabs in France are not parallel to Miami Cubans. What the fuck are you talking about? You can't make the case that the Palestinians they can't go to Egypt and they can't go to Lebanon and they can't go to Syria because they're unfucking welcome. They can't go to Iraq or Iran. They can't join the fucking Houthis. The only place they can go is if they can get a rowboat to an airplane, end up in fucking France, so that they can say fuck Western democracy. This is the idea, that they're in there going kill the Jews and gas the Jews and the hell with Israel and all this stuff. As a pushback because they identify, even though they live in France, as Palestinians and with a right to return, and eventually will go back, and they don't really view themselves as French or whatever. And you're going to parallel that to Cubans that fled Castro, went to the United States to be free, and don't want to go back to fucking Cuba until, as a matter of fact, Castro and Hamas would be the direct parallel in this situation, and they want the exact fucking opposite. God damn, this is dumb.
People who can.
And the whole thing about like Jimmy just like his with his sponge brain just going, wow, I never really thought about it that way / at all.
Consider themselves free speech warriors, and for years have decried the liberal left.
Wait, is that the end of this? Hold on one second. What the fuck? Sometimes these videos do this. Hold on. Yeah, sometimes these videos just don't want to play on here. It's a Rumble thing. It's super weird. You know what? Here's the thing. I kind of don't give a fuck. You get the idea. Honest to God. No, nobody needs more of this dickhead, in their life than they already have. But you get the point. The basis of this entire thing is
4:37 p.m.
It is. The basis of the entire thing is that Jimmy finds himself on the side of right wingers, and considers himself a part of that right wing camp.